4 United Nations affiliated organizations in the past 2 years with the aim of seeking a complete end run around peace negotiations. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, they just want to take over. The 4 include the United Nations Conference on Trade Development, or the UNCTAD, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the OPCW, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, or the UNCCD, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC. I think that one alone, ladies and gentlemen, the last one I mentioned, should be the reason why President Trump pulls out of the United Nations completely. This report also states the law was only being forced one time, and when the Palestinians joined the UNESCO, or in other words, in 2011, forcing a reluctant Obama administration to end U.S. funding, which constituted 22% of its budget. The U.S. quit the organization earlier this year. The report has also criticized the Obama administration for not defunding the UNFCCC, obviously the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. While a United States United Nations mission spokesperson did not say why the U.S. funding had not yet been halted to the agencies, the United States has long opposed enhancements of Palestinian status at the United Nations. We voted against Palestinian election as chair of the G77. We opposed the General Assembly's resolution designating the Palestinian delegation as a non-member observer state. We have consistently and formally objected to Palestinian accession to treaties to which we are a party of. That is because we have had said repeatedly that the United States does not recognize that there is a Palestinian state. Of course there isn't. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Ruth Dunn, thanks for coming to the chat. French protesting over Macron, not gas, fake media is telling us. Of course, Macron is a globalist. I think he and President Trump like each other, but behind closed doors, I think Macron has to do what he's told, because that's why he was elected. That's why he won that election, I guess, out of the blue. He was behind for a while, and then all of a sudden he pulled it out. So isn't that something? JBB Baller 5250 says, now that George W. Bush obviously is out of the picture, will this allow JFK Jr. to openly appear? Well, we can believe what we want to believe, right, ladies and gentlemen? Moving on with the U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley, well, not for long, has said that the Palestinian Authority's tactics hurt the prospects for peace between both sides, while at the same time doing nothing to help those Palestinian people. Back to the story with James Comey. And these are all enlightenments that President Trump, the way he is and what he is doing with his policies, his nationalism authority, is really bringing to the forefront. Mr. Comey will join them in a closed-door transcribed interview later this week. They will release the transcript of his interview to the public as soon as possible after the interview, in the name of our combined desire for transparency. Let's hope that Nancy Pelosi has nothing to do with that. Bob Goodlatte, representative, also said earlier today that he expected Comey to withdraw his motion and appear to testify, saying there had been ongoing discussions to effect that outcome. Well, the FBI has incorrectly suggested to the FISA court that Yahoo News article provided independent bias to surveil Trump aides. We have now examined thousands of pages of documents, searched through nearly 1 million documents. Yes, I said that correctly, ladies and gentlemen, 1 million documents, interviewed 16 other witnesses. Mr. Comey is, as the former FBI director, at the center of both of these investigations, obviously launched in 2016 with regards to Hillary Clinton and the Trump campaign. We combine that we hope that by doing this, we will prevent it from happening again in 2020, or hopefully ever again. The FBI was misused in 2016, and this is an organization that is very, very important. Every day, thousands and thousands of great FBI agents and others protect us from terrorist attacks, prevent crimes, solve crimes, and other dealings that I won't mention in this broadcast. President Trump did fire the FBI chief in May of 2017. Comey then leaked memos of his one-on-one interactions with President Trump. That should give him a first-class seat to Gitmo, ladies and gentlemen, right there. John Loveland, thanks for coming to the chat. Yes, JBB Baller 5252, Trump's Christmas present to our country. I hope it's still our country. It's hard to say with what President Trump has had to deal with, especially over the weekend in the G20 summit, with pretty much everyone from what I've read with the articles that I do believe, that he was basically the only one that didn't believe in climate change. And I think all of these other leaders are just using that to circumvent money. It's just another tax on the American people. It's just another way to circumvent those type of things. Just like the Pentagon supposedly lost trillions of dollars that is unaccountable. Well, those are the places that it's going to, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want to be accountable. If you or I were accountable for something like that in our own jobs, wouldn't we have been fired already? We've been fired and put up on legal charges, I guarantee you. Lynn Mack, thanks for coming to the chat. The FBI are the terrorists. Well, I can't say that for sure, but I can say that no one is perfect. And there's probably a lot of good people in that organization, but there's a lot of bad people in that organization as well. So do the good outweigh the bad? Well, I don't think it matters. If you have one bad entity, it could rot the rest of the barrel of the apples, right, if it's left there. Becky Young says, no, he's not the only one. I don't know, Becky, what you're relating to that. Please specify. Becky also says, all that money disappears into a black hole, never to be seen again. Yeah. And it's definitely not the pockets of the American citizens, I can tell you that. So obviously, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley is on the way out. I don't know exactly who he's going to replace, but after what President Trump has dealt with this weekend, we can tell already who the problems are. Stephen Listener says that, thanks, Stephen, for coming to the chat, says Marcone's party while Paris is burning. Marcone is partying. Well, he's not doing anything different than Obama did. Obama would have these functions at the White House because he was basically kissing everybody's rump. Really. That's the way you do it. We've seen that with Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't have to spend any of her own campaign funds that she raises, because she's a good campaign fundraiser, in her own party, in her own runoff to get it reelected. So she disperses it to other people that she'll get favors from. It's the same type of entity. And Trump is not like that. He's not a rear kisser. He's not going to kiss anybody's butt. He's not going to be that way, you know, and I can totally understand that, because that's all it really is giving each other favors. President Trump is not going to owe anyone else favors other than the American people, because obviously he sees that the American people are being completely taken advantage of. I-55 Centaur, thanks for coming to the chat. Of course, it's still out country silly. Trust the plan. Corruption is coming to an end. Well, I hope so. John LaRoche, thanks, John, for coming to the chat. He also says that corruption is coming to an end. Stephen Lisner says that Yellow Jackets have started rioting in Brussels. Civil war has begun in Europe. Well, isn't that always where it begins, either in France or in Germany or in England?